Everybody. So in this video, we are going to talk a little bit about the various lymphoid tissues and organs that are associated with the system. One of the big ones that we're going to focus on, especially in the next part of this slideshow, is going to be the thymus, but we'll talk about that real quick here. So it's going to be important mostly because it's going to be involved in training those T lymphocytes to distinguish yourself from non-self. So in other words, you have these T lymphocytes, which are really important for fighting off infections and destroying other cells that are in your body, right? So, for example, there's a bad cell. I know this is a silly picture, but you get this mean cells in your body. Your body has the ability. Here's my good cell to recognize the bad one and destroy it, right? That is important, right? I know it sounds silly, and it's like, well, obviously you don't want to hurt yourself, but that's exactly my point. We need to learn that. We need to learn the difference between your cells and the bad ones because you don't want your good cells to see other good cells and destroy them. That would be an autoimmune disorder, right? So it's really important that we can distinguish between our own cells and the bad cells so we don't destroy our own cells. So, how do we do that? A lot of that happens within the thymus. Next up, we have our tonsils, right? So we have various tonsils, and those are going to be important again because of those lymphocytes and macrophages to help break down or destroy any invaders that get into our body. Next up is our spleen. So the spleen is the largest lymphoid organ. It's important because the spleen is the site where lymphocytes are going to multiply, right? So proliferation, they're going to create even more of them there. So if we need more, our spleen's going to do that. It's also going to be an immune surveillance and response zone. So in other words, your immune system is able to recognize and respond to anything that gets into your bloodstream uh, through the spleen. Your spleen's also going to be important because it's going to clean the blood, right? And what I mean by that is, red blood cells, as they get older, they're not as useful, right? White blood cells, same thing. Your platelets, its job is to try to clean those out and get rid of any old or damaged blood cells. As well as if it notices any bacteria or viruses or anything else that gets in there, it'll clean those out. It's like a massive filter. So your spleen is like your blood's filter. It's going to filter out all the stuff you don't need. Another thing about the spleen is it's going to store all the broken down products of red blood cells um, that are going to be processed by the liver, right? And is also going to be the site of red blood cell production in a fetus. So, spleen is extremely important. And if damaged because it is a solid organ, it can bleed and hemorrhage, which is really dangerous. So, it's important to make sure that um, in case of an injury to that part of the body, make sure that it gets checked out just in case there is any hemorrhaging and bleeding. Because as a solid organ, it has tons of blood vessels, and if all the stuff we just talked about wasn't enough evidence, there is a lot of blood inside of your spleen. So if it hemorrhages, that is not a good thing. And the last thing here is just, again, it's showing all the stuff we discussed. And it also has the different locations and functions of those lymphatic organs. So at this point, if you have any questions on the lymphatic system, please let me know because we're going to be moving into the immune system next.